Yes, and welcome back to the Friday Sports Show here on The Flow. Joining me now is a player agent from within the A-Leagues set up in Australia. We haven't had many agents on the sports show, if any, so it's an absolute pleasure to welcome Adrian Griffin to the show. Adrian, how you doing?
Good, it's an honour. Thank you.
Great to have you on the show. Now, you're a player agent. Not many people are, so talk to us about what the business of agency is like within football. We know so many people want to dip their toes in this kind of work that you do, but you actually live it day to day, so talk to us about what it's like.
Yeah, I do it sort of along with my legal work, because I'm a sort of lawyer. They sort of work together pretty well. Mostly, obviously just finding job employments and finding clubs and negotiating on behalf of players. And you've also got finding players. So it's quite a lot going on.
I'm sure there is. And how does it all sort of come about from when you first get the idea that someone wants you as their agent to then getting a deal over the line? Is it a really complicated process?
Depends on the player, I guess. Some deals are easier than others. Some you have to put a lot of work in, a lot of networking. Normally, traditionally, most of my players are sort of come to me, which is quite rare in the industry, I believe. So a bit lucky to have a pretty good young group.
Absolutely. Well, we'll talk more about the agency work later on in the interview. But before we get to that, I just want to discuss some A-League games that are coming up this weekend. We did have Ben Homer, the A-League's commentator on the Sports Fix, of course, just last night, who gave a great review of the Wednesday games. So let's preview the Saturday games that are coming up in the A-League men's, Adrian. So firstly, we've got Western United. They host Melbourne City, the two top teams. And I guess the other thing that's significant about this game is the fact that you've got a fair few clients, I believe, that are bubbling around these two clubs. So talk to us about how you see this game unfolding and any particular players we should look out for in this fixture.
No, I know Western are a formed team, but I think Melbourne City are starting to click like they did last season, this time of the year. So I'll go with Melbourne City for this game. I think, McLaren's is in a bit of form. They come back and defeated Arthur for being 1-0 down. So I think Melbourne City are starting to show why they're the favourites.
Do you think Western United can continue this form that they're on? Because not many people are talking about Western too much. And we know John Aloisi's got a lot to prove as the head coach there. But like I said, they're a bit of a dark horse right now.
Yeah, defensively they're very, very good. Yeah, obviously they're probably not getting the credit they deserve. That's probably due to not being a big club, but they don't have a massive following at the moment. I do think they can, definitely I think they're going to finish in the top four. Absolutely. Still think Melbourne City are the favourites.
Are there any players from across both teams that you know quite well or that you work for?
Only Karis, actually, in this fixture at the moment. Gomolka. He's had a decent season so far. He plays. He's a young, really good, talented young player.
Certainly one to watch in midfield is Taras Gomolka. Has got some high stocks. We'll move across to Brisbane, where they are in action at the Moreton Daily Stadium over there in Queensland against Wellington Phoenix. The high-flying Knicks, Adrian, who have so many games in hand, and they're sat quite nicely in sixth spot at the moment on the table. Brisbane Roar, they have not been very good this season at all. So will this be business as usual for Wellington being the away team here, or do you think Brisbane might surprise everyone and get a result here?
I think Wellington, are probably the informed team. Really impressive to watch. They were really good on Wednesday night, I thought. But Brisbane do sometimes win these games. They beat Macarthur at home. The weather there is probably not going to be great. So I'm probably going to go with a draw.
Draw it is. We'll pencil that one in. Going out west to Perth Glory's ground, the HBF Park, they play Sydney FC. They need to start getting points quick, smart, Adrian. So Tony Sage's club, who we have interviewed a number of times here on The Flow, a very good friend of the station. How do you see this game unfolding? Because Sydney FC, they're quite nearly as desperate as Perth to get a win in this game.
Well, it's a 5-hour trip from Sydney to Perth. That's massive. There's a 4-hour time difference. I do think Perth have beaten teams, have beaten stronger teams this season, and they've always performed well. So I'm going to go with Perth.
Do you reckon just on Daniel Sturridge, I'd love to ask you this question as a player agent. Was this a good investment? Have they been a little bit ripped off here with Sturridge coming in, Adrian? Because for the amount that they've spent and the return they've gotten right now, it looks like it's squeaky bum time for Perth Glory to get him fit and firing.
Well, not much they could really do. They're up against it. Obviously had to quarantine. I believe he got COVID. They've had to quarantine for 10 days. That's all out of Glory's control. So I think it's a bit too early to sort of make those, that call. He could have a great end to the season once he gets fit. He could win him a final. So
fair enough.
I think it's a bit too early to say. I think they've just been very, very unlucky.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees that, they made the right move to get a player of his calibre. You just hope that it's going to financially balance out for Tony Sage as a neutral, I guess. Looking at MacArthur, they really need points too, Adrian. They've struggled this season, and they are some high spenders too. They've got a very, very, very expensive squad when you look at the players there. So they're hosting Western Sydney Wanderers. Now, Mark Rudin, obviously the new manager there, a lot of pressure on him to achieve a finals finish. How do you see this one going?
I think Western Sydney, they were good against Sydney FC, obviously. It's quite a tough one because they're both, MacArthur's form is, win-win and then they, lose and lose. It's a hard one to actually really to predict, but I thought they were decent against Melbourne City. Obviously, they've got players like Davila who's hurt, really hurt you. And they're only fifth, and they've got a game in hand against Adelaide who are third. So I'll go with MacArthur.
And moving into the Sunday fixture now, Adelaide United, they'll host Newcastle Jets. You look after players across both divides here, Adrian, and a fair few of them as well. So I'm sure you'll have your eyes fixated on the action unfolding at Cooper Stadium on Sunday evening. Who gets the win here?
I think Newcastle matched really well against Adelaide. If you watch the last 30 minutes against Perth, when Pacific Nyongabira came on, Adelaide really struggled to contain him. They've also struggled against guys like Elvis and Alassane Toure. So they sort of don't match well against sort of those direct fearless players. And I think Newcastle have a couple of those. But at the same time, Adelaide just keep grinding out results. So it's a really tough one to really call. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. And
just regarding players to look out for, I know that there's a certain Newcastle high flyer that you look after. So who should we watch out for?
Well, I'm obviously a bit biased. I'm obviously going to say Valentino. But, playing at home, I guess. So who knows? I think he might. Hopefully scores one for his family.
Fair enough. Well, Adrian Griffin, it's been great talking about the A-League with you. Before we go, let's just discuss your agency in a bit more depth. So when did the idea first come up, and did you have to do a fair bit of mingling with certain individuals to really establish yourself? And I guess, you did talk about it before, getting this kind of pathway established with, players coming to you rather than you having to reach out. That's obviously a unique thing. So talk to us a bit more about how that all came about, and if you're looking to expand and how you will expand as a prevalent player agent in Australia. We know there's been some big names who have been player agents that have ended up having clients in the English Premier League. Bernie Mandich springs to mind. So I'm sure you've done some research into what some of the really well-established player agents have gotten up to in their careers. So what does it all look like for you?
How did it all start for me? So a couple, after we obviously sold Adelaide, my parents sold Adelaide United, we were quite close with a lot of the younger boys, and a couple weren't really getting much of a run in the Adelaide United youth team, and they sort of reached out to us, like, can you help us find something else at another A-League club? That's where it sort of started. We sort of sent, 3 boys interstate, Lewis, Latanziano, Gideon, and I think it was Luca Maggetto, Central Coast, and they sort of just asked us, can you guys be my agent? Can you be my agent? And that's where it all sort of started, and then sort of grew from there. Obviously, how's it grow? I guess just play it how it is. Obviously some players do really, really well, and then you've got to sort of move them on to higher leagues, and obviously I've got those connections. Obviously, everyone would love to have players in the Premier League. just see how it all goes, I guess.
Good stuff. Well, Adrian Griffin, it's been great getting a understanding and an insight there into how the world of football agency works. And thank you for previewing a few A-League games that are coming up this weekend for us too here on the Friday Sports Show. You take care of yourself and enjoy all the upcoming football.
Thank you. You too.
And coming up in the second hour of our Friday Sports Show, we'll be hearing from Eddie Dadds. He'll be talking to us about the weird world of sports, his new segment that we've penciled him in for permanently here on the Flow airwaves. Bruce Phillips, Sprint Cars, a big chat there with Big Bruce still to come. But just after these messages, it'll be our very own Ricky Lambert taking a deep dive into all things Barossa cricket with Luke Doki. Don't go anywhere.